Hello everyone, welcome to this special episode of Untold History, the channel where we explore the events that defined history from unique and lesser-known perspectives. Today we travel to November 9th, 1989, the day on which an unexpected but deeply significant event occurred. The Berlin Wall, a symbol of the division of Germany and the Cold War, fell. This event marked the end of an era of political, military, and social tensions that had lasted more than 4 decades. Erich Honecker, who had led the GDR since 1971, played a crucial role in the construction and maintenance of the wall, defending its existence as a necessary barrier to protect the socialist state. However, its inability to adapt to the political and social changes that were transforming Eastern Europe contributed to its imminent downfall. The fall of the wall not only meant the reunification of Germany, but also anticipated the collapse of the Soviet bloc and a radical shift in the global balance of power. But what led to the construction of this wall that divided families and dreams for almost 3 decades? How did a series of unexpected events and a miscommunication result in its downfall? What impact did this event have on Germany, Europe, and the rest of the world? These are some of the questions we'll explore in this fascinating episode. The Berlin Wall was erected in 1961 by the German Democratic Republic, GDR, to prevent the mass flight of citizens from the communist east to the capitalist west through Berlin. For 28 years, the wall stood as a visible and painful symbol of Europe's ideological and political divide, with Berlin as the epicenter of the Cold War. While East Berlin was under the control of the Soviet Union, the West was an island of capitalism and democracy supported by the United States, France, and the United Kingdom. The wall, rather than a physical barrier, represented an oppressive surveillance system that included watchtowers, barbed wire, and a death strip patrolled by armed guards. Between 1961 and 1989, at least 140 people died trying to cross west. This brutal division not only separated families, but also deepened tensions between the Eastern and Western blocs. By the 1980s, the winds of change began to blow in Eastern Europe. Mikhail Gorbachev, who became leader of the Soviet Union in 1985, introduced a series of reforms called glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring, to revitalize a system that was on the verge of collapse. In the GDR, these reforms inspired many citizens who, frustrated by decades of repression and economic stagnation, began to organize themselves into protest groups and civic movements. These reforms also exposed the contradictions of the communist regime, increasing pressure on Eastern leaders to allow changes they were unable or unwilling to implement. The demonstrations, which were initially local and low-key, quickly grew in size and intensity, becoming a catalyst for widespread discontent across the country. Over the years, desperate citizens devised ingenious methods to escape from east to west. Some used homemade hot air balloons, as 2 families did in 1979, flying more than 28 kilometers to Bavaria. Others dug secret tunnels, such as Tunnel 57, which allowed 57 people to escape in 1964. In addition, in 1989, Hungary dismantled its border with Austria, creating a breach in the Iron Curtain that allowed thousands of East Germans to escape westward. On November 9, 1989, an erroneous announcement by Günter Schabowski, spokesman for the East German Communist Party, caused an avalanche of people in Berlin who, confused by the news that travel restrictions had been lifted. Schabowski, during a televised news conference, said in a confusing manner that citizens would be able to cross borders immediately without clarifying details or consulting with border authorities, triggering the chaos that led to the wall's opening later that night. Thousands of citizens went to the Berlin Wall, demanding to be allowed to cross to the western side. The border guards, not knowing how to react to the crowd that had gathered, opened the gates of the wall, allowing free passage to the west. Within hours, Berliners on both sides began tearing down the wall, using hammers, pickaxes, and whatever tools were available. This spontaneous and symbolic act not only marked the end of the division of Berlin, but also the collapse of the ideological division that had characterized Europe during the Cold War. The fall of the Berlin Wall was not just an isolated event, but was the catalyst for a series of dramatic changes. In Poland, the Solidarity movement, which had already gained strength, accelerated negotiations that led to free elections in 1989. In Czechoslovakia, the Velvet Revolution of November and December of the same year culminated in the peaceful collapse of the communist regime. In Hungary, the dismantling of its own border with Austria in the summer of 1989 had already opened a breach in the Iron Curtain. These events reflect how the fall of the wall inspired fundamental changes throughout Eastern Europe, marking the beginning of a new era. Within a few months, the GDR fell, and the process of reunification of Germany officially began in 1990, finally unifying the country under a democratic, capitalist government. The fall of the wall also accelerated the collapse of communist regimes in Eastern Europe, which fell one after another. In 1991, the Soviet Union ceased to exist, and the Cold War came to an end. For Germany, reunification was a complex process that involved the integration of two completely different economies and political systems. This posed enormous challenges, from balancing economic differences to dealing with the social traumas of a population divided by generations. Rebuilding infrastructure in the East and integrating its population into a capitalist economy were monumental efforts that shaped the Germany we know today. In the global context, the fall of the Berlin Wall marked the beginning of a new world order. It represented the end of bipolarity in international relations, with the United States emerging as the sole global superpower. In addition, the fall of the wall opened the doors to the expansion of NATO and the European Union eastwards, embracing former members of the Warsaw Pact. However, it also left significant challenges, such as ethnic tensions in the Balkans and the redefinition of international alliances in a post-Soviet world. Today, the Berlin Wall persists in the collective memory as a reminder of the struggles for freedom, unity, and justice. Remnants of the wall have been preserved as cultural and tourist symbols in Berlin and in other parts of the world, such as in the East Side Gallery, where artists from around the world have captured messages of hope and reconciliation. Fragments of the wall have also been distributed in museums and private collections, becoming historical pieces that connect future generations to this crucial chapter of history. Its fall symbolized not only the end of a physical divide, but also the hope for a more connected and democratic future for all humanity. Thank you for joining us for this special episode of Untold History. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell for more fascinating stories like this one.